Good morning, everyone. Today, November 30, and the time is 8:31 a.m. My name is Ting Lee. On today's segment of All About Technology, we continue our discussion about cybersecurity attacks. Katie Barham meets with cybersecurity specialist Candy Thay to talk about abuse of user account relevance.
Welcome to the show, Kenny.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So, Kenny, what is the abuse of user account privileges?
Well, you see, the abuse of user account privileges happens when a user leaks personal or private account information using their account privileges. What's interesting about this is that this type of attack can either be purposeful or unintentional. Now, check this out. According to Verizon's 2017 data breach investigation report, abuse of user account privileges is the second most common cause of security incidents and the third most common cause of breaches. Also, according to Jeff Melnick, abuse of user account privileges usually occurs when a company fails to monitor the activity of the privileged accounts or establish appropriate controls. Alright, hear me out. Ready? Picture this. So picture an employee here at the news station, News 346, right here, has access to for the script to tomorrow's show, and he or she is supposed to send it to the editor for approval, but instead they send it out to another company, another news company, newspaper, whatever. They get the information. After it is sent, the stories that were going to be first aired on your show, the breaking news, breaking down whatever happened, are now being shared all across the board. Every other news station has it. You don't have it. You're no longer first to break the story. Everyone else has the valuable information, and your news network's invaluable. Could you just imagine? Now, in that scenario, the person that sent the email does have permission to access that information, but they sent this information to someone who does not have permission, which is the problem. This was just a quick example of how easily this type of attack could happen without it even being intentional or malicious. Who knows what the person could be thinking. This type of cyber attack could be potentially dangerous for companies of all sizes.
Wow, I can see how that's the case. If that example you mentioned were to actually happen here at this office, I'm sure that although we wouldn't be able to break the story first, it's only one story. And because it was an honest mistake, we would keep moving forward. But what would be some of the ramifications if this type of cyber attack were to happen at other companies and with more sensitive information?
See, that's a fair point. Good question. But with account privileges, you never know what could happen. In any size company, all companies have users and employees that have access to the most important data or customer information. If the users with the access to this information were to release it, many things could happen, including loss of jobs, loss of money, customers could be gone. Now, could you believe this? A national fraud survey found that $348 billion a year in corporate losses can be tied directly to privileged user fraud. Committing acts of this type of cyber attack, depending on the severity, can also lead to incarceration. Not only can the person that committed the crime face charges, but higher up management can also see fines and possibly incarceration for compliance penalties.
It seems as though this problem can have major consequences, but could accidentally or purposefully be done so easily. Has there been instances where this has happened in the past?
As a matter of fact, yes, there has been. One person who's conducted this type of attack is Edward Snowden.
Edward Snowden is the person who worked for the NSA and leaked all of the documents so everyone could know how the NSA was invading everyone's privacy, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's the Edward Snowden I was talking about. What's interesting is Snowden's case is an example of intentional abuse of user account privileges through cyber attack. Snowden had access to the information, but illegally published the information online for anyone to see. This example is one that obviously we both know pretty well, and a lot of other people know well too. Some other examples of where this cyber attack has happened in the past that might not be as well known includes an incident that occurred in 2017. Did you also know that Anthem Inc. found an employee at its third-party coordination services vendor sent a file that contained the Medicare ID numbers, which includes the social security numbers, health plan ID numbers, Medicare contract numbers, dates of enrollment, and in some cases the last names and dates of birth of the 18,580 members to his personal email account?
Wow!
Fortunately, after a thorough investigation, they found that None of the data was misused by the employee, but he was still incarcerated, which shows you how serious this matter really is. And another example described in the HIPAA Journal is where two patient transporters of Vanderbilt University Medical Center inappropriately accessed the medical records of more than 3,000 patients. The types of information in the records included patients' names, medical record IDs, birth dates, and social security numbers. After this incident was all said and done, it's all over, the medical center had to change its policies and procedures relating to how the patient transporters are provided with patients' health information.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us, Kenny.
Glad this information can be useful. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Katie and Kenny. That was very interesting and helpful. We now bring on many diction to help show how companies and us as individuals can protect ourselves from such an egregious crimes. Hi, good morning, Manny. Good to have you back.
Hey. Oh, my pleasure. Glad to be back on the show.
To my understanding, you have personally witnessed abuse of user accounts.
Yeah. It's not something to be taken lightly. That's for sure.
What measure did you take to ensure this could never happen again? And what are the best protection tactics companies should take?
Because I'm the expert. So there are multiple ways in which a company can protect its information. All right. So they want to protect itself. They want to protect its employees. Now there's three main ways. Not one, not four, three. So the three ways are technical, policy, and education. Are y'all gonna bring my water? I'm almost out. Oh, I'm not gonna be reading off the screen now. A technical information that companies is using is machine learning. Over time, users develop a unique pattern of behavior. Using this information, you can build behavioral profiles over time for each employee in a company. Guys, really? Fiji water, please. Not Members Mark. Help me help you. Hey there. Smile. They're using a machine learning algorithm. You can compare activities against a profile. Doing this will be able to detect irregularities if the behavior is different from the typical behavior, and then security can be altered. If the user is deviating from their typical behavior purposefully, then the program will alert them, but they can just ignore it. It's better to be safe than sorry. Another way companies can prevent this type of cyber attacks is through education. Companies can educate their employees on this type of cyber attack. They can do this by informing them of what abuse of user account privilege is, how it can happen, and the ramifications. Funny way to say making them watch this newscast would work. Wink. Oh. Training employees in the proper use of elevated access privileges, including logging out after doing required tasks, will help to prevent this type of cyber attack. Lastly, companies can create new policy to ensure to reduce the risk of abuse of user account privileges. A policy that was introduced at my current job is one that limits the number of employees that have privileged access. Of course, I have access. Each employee is ranked in a system. The newer, lower-level employees will not gain access. The older and experienced employees will have a better shot at gaining privileged access. This access is a privilege, not a right, at my company.
Thank you, Manny. It's always a pleasure having you on.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today. Make sure you stay warm, bundled up, and secure. Best thing for you to do is tie a string around your wrist so when you blow away like a kite, somebody can save you.
Thank you for joining us for today's segment of All About Technology. See you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thanks for watching New 346.